Cody, you want to get started?
Yeah, and I'm fine if you want to set it so they can and chat with us. That's absolutely fine. I'd rather have a conversation than a briefing, so we're happy to do that. Thank you all for being here with us today at TOC. We're excited to be here to present to you, what we think of as the future workforce, what it's going to look like for us, looking at immersive learning, looking at how we can introduce digital twins, AI, all kinds of things. Meta related, and not necessarily meta as in metaverse, but everything immersive learning. We're going to talk a little bit about all different kinds of things today. So thank you for being with us here today. Rob, you can go to the next slide. My name is Cody Cadell. I work for C-Squared Technologies Incorporated. I'm a director of digital transformation, and I've been with the company for 25 years. So seen a host of different styles of training from very beginning with, believe it or not, the first contract I worked on was on a laser disc, the giant laser disc, and now we're in, Oculus. So the changes have been immense over time, and we're really excited to see what's going next and where we're headed. And today with me, we have Ravi Garimella. Ravi?
Thank you, Cody. Hello, everyone. My name is Ravi Garimella. I'm the technical director at C-Squared Technologies, and I manage a lot of our AR, VR projects and also projects that require a lot of technology enablement. So I'm very happy to be here and presenting to you guys.
Great. Next slide. So I'm going to turn this over to Ravi. Ravi's going to do his things up front, and then we're going to get into some demos and talk a little bit about, where we are, what we've done, where we think things are going, and where we're learning this stuff from. But at any time during this, if something piques your interest, or you have a question, or something is, you have a story that relates to what we're talking about, please jump in. Feel free to unmute and jump in and talk. We have an hour today. We're happy to be here. We don't have to use every slide in the deck, so we're happy to have a conversation with you as we move forward. So I'll turn it over to Ravi. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Cody. And just like Cody said, there are definitely natural stopping points also where we might show you something, you might have questions. So let's make it more like a dialogue and make it engaging with participation from you guys, just so that it's not like a one-way street. So starting with what's Metaverse, it's the term that we've been hearing for the last 2 to 3 years, and it's I would say it's not something that is new. If you turn back the clock like early 2000s, you must have heard about Second Life. That was one of the first quote unquote versions of Second Metaverse, where people were from using computer avatars are able to join in an immersive environment. So one of the earliest versions of the Metaverse. So a Metaverse is simply not a rebranded virtual reality, but it's based on virtual reality, augmented reality, games, mixed reality, all kind of these new technologies kind of built into one. And the last 10 years have seen an explosive growth in the use of immersive and augmented training technologies, and really positively disrupted the established forms of training and development. And broadly speaking, the metaverse is defined as a virtual world where you can live, work, and play inside. And I'm going to quote, the company that literally changed itself from, Facebook to Meta. Basically, as per the Meta CEO, you can think about metaverse as an embodied internet, where instead of just viewing the content, you are in it. And we can, of course, add other technologies like, cryptocurrencies, blockchain, and if there are any, financial transactions that needs to take place. So Metaverse is also a series of interconnected digital worlds, while, the most existing digital worlds are, closed and centralized. And what I mean by closed and centralized means, if you have heard about, World of Warcraft, where, there might be multiple servers, but a person sitting in, one siloed server cannot interact with another team playing the World of Warcraft in another server. So it's all like, siloed, and that's what I mean by that. In the military, there's, virtual battle space where exactly the same thing. As long as you're within that server, you can communicate with players within that particular server, but not with others. So the metaverse, is set to, disrupt the paradigm and free the developers to kind of create this rich, effective, and portable content to give us more seamlessly experienced, which can be seamlessly experienced across digital worlds. I mean, some call it a pipe dream, but the advantage of metaverse is you build it once, you can deploy it anywhere. So I want to share, what the future ideal state of the metaverse looks like. Of course, we want it to be interconnected. Like I said earlier, and I'm going to show you some examples also where you can, log into each of these platforms within the metaverse with multiple companies offering the metaverse platform, but you cannot move from one platform to another platform. So as long as you are within the same platform, it's fine. So in the future ideal state is we're looking for things that are interconnected, being able to join from one portal in one metaverse to another portal in another metaverse. So training maybe, more, right now it's more like, gated communities to wall themselves off with, other regions of the metaverse. But in the future, you'll of course have, high fidelity, being able to be interconnected, being persistent, just always being available. And it's already, social right now. We're seeing, of course, from learning to immersive learning to, from on the quote unquote having fun side, being able to attend concerts into the metaverse. So, all in all, metaverse is a great technology to bring in people from anywhere in the world into a room, into a zone, into an environment, and integrate and talk to them and being able to be part of a team. So I want to kind of show this graphic as part of this is from a paper that we presented. What we wanted to showcase here is the learner is at the center out here. And then there are these four quadrants for the immersive learning environments, which can be on the top left is your experiential learning, and on the top right is you're able to create this authentic, personal, and interactive experiences. So as the journey progresses, as people are brought into the metaverse, you have to keep all these things in mind. Now on the bottom right, you're basically the immersive learning allows a student to experience complexities of language and culture and other nuances. And on the bottom left, of course, it's designed to be for immersive students and bringing them into virtual space while experiencing different and various learning outcomes. So like I said earlier, we have these multiple companies offering quote unquote a metaverse, which is their own flavor or own versions of it. So we have the Metas, the Horizon Worlds, which is more like from a collaboration and communication perspective. We have Frame. What we like the best is spatial, and the advantage about the spatial metaverse is we are able to bring in our own custom environments. An example, we just had our Easter egg hunt in spatial with 40, 50 folks from all over the country within our organization just joining and having those team building engagement. Then another one is Engage. This is also being used in the creation of the metaverse, be it metaversities to creating collaborative platforms. And last but not the least, it's a different style, but it's very similar. It's called Gather Town, and it's also gives you this immersive kind of experiences. So what are the use cases? So one of course, the first things that comes into our mind is collaboration. Like we are doing right now. Technically, this could we could have this conversation in the metaverse itself. So being able to collaborate from anywhere in the world is one of the primary use cases for the metaverse. You're able to share documents, share videos, share 3D models, and any kind of content sharing is still possible. Of course, innovation challenges, being able to network, that's part of, when we go to these conferences, especially, when in person, you're able to network, you can do the same thing in the metaverse also. Being able to, of course, immersive training, we have seen use cases where people are practicing, difficult conversations. There's this whole theory about, being able to, when you're looking at, not a person, but an avatar, you're able to, you can have those, different difficult conversations, or new employee onboarding, have a treasure hunt for new employees to go find things within your organization and learn about your organization. You can create an innovation hub for education and military training, joint planning exercises, after action reports, like I said, new employee orientation, and last but not the least, lab safety. We have seen some great use cases there. So of course, we'll definitely want to hear from you. What are your use cases that you think are you feel it might be beneficial for your organization? So the training technology, so what do we need to kind of quote unquote create this metaverse? What if you're instructional designers, what are the the things that you need to take it into account? So, or you're a stakeholder. So starting with physical devices and sensors, we need to know how your audience is going to engage. So we're looking for either a VR headset, or you're looking for the beauty about the metaverse is you don't need expensive equipment. You can a person can come into the metaverse either by using a phone, tablet, or using a VR headset. The advantage, of course, for using a VR headset is being able to, of course, get that immersive experience. But you don't have to. You can use just your computer to access the metaverse. And of course, we need to talk about recognition and rendering, about scene and object recognition, sounds, how do we, just like we are doing communication right now, how do we do that? Also we need to look into scenario generation. What is it that makes it engaging? Multimodal content representation. And what it means is being able to bring in your current assets. You don't have to go reinvent the wheel. You can bring in your videos, your audios, or your training programs, your job aids, and your 3D models if you already have some kind of interactive elements. So you can bring all those existing assets into the metaverse. And of course, agent person modeling. And agent person modeling refers to the creation and representation of virtual characters or entities. They can have their own behaviors, their own personality traits. And you must have heard about ChatGPT and all this generative AI that is just taken us by storm. Storm in the sense it's moving so rapidly and so fast. So we can integrate those kinds of training technologies, or AI technologies into the metaverse. Multimodal entity linking, basically the process of identifying, connecting, enhancing various entities within the virtual environment with using multiple modes of communication. Multi-talk interaction, being able to simultaneously communicate and collaborate, either using text, voice, all those kinds of things in a virtual environment. And embodied interaction, embodied interaction refers to how the users interact within the virtual environment. And last but not the least, the learner data and interoperability. In the end, we want to track all this, and see how everything works and whether it's even making an impact or not. So of course, working with your LMSs, your XAPI calls and everything, and learning record stores. So these are the things at a very high level that we need to think about from a training technology integration. So I think I've done enough talking. So let me share some examples of some of the examples out here. So the metaverse can look like a lot of things, and it's a very broad concept. So we want to showcase some of the examples. So this is one of the examples of an EC130, and we can also call this like a digital twin. This was a classroom activity where the instructor kind of showed pictures, PowerPoint slides, and we converted it using into a virtual reality. And then this can be, again, scaled into the metaverse where the entire class can be held in the metaverse. So let me just play. There's no audio to it, but as you can see, yeah, it's like a full immersive 360 experience. So you're as if, if you put on the headset, you're, transported to this environment and be able to see where everything is, all the knobs and switches and everything else that's available in this example. So this is another example that I want to showcase.
Every semester, students at the school perform a training exercise known as the Gauntlet as part of the Law of Armed Conflict course.
I can hear it.
The Gauntlet is a physical exercise where students interact with course instructors and volunteers who act out real-world scenarios judge advocates frequently encounter while in a deployed environment. The problem is that approximately 80% of the students enrolled are non-resident, meaning they aren't physically located at the school. So the JAG School and C² teamed up to create a solution, the Law of Armed Conflict Interactive Trainer. This interactive trainer is a series of 6 independent scenarios, all modeled after the Gauntlet, that all take place right here in this living, breathing, virtual world. The development team at C² leveraged the Unity game engine to build the 6 modular exercises, totaling 10 hours of virtual interactivity delivered through the JAG University LMS. The student is free to roam streets and buildings of Vigilum, interacting with avatars, items, and other resources to practice their problem-solving skills and knowledge of relevant legal topics. Each encounter the student has with a citizen, soldier, leader, or other member of the city is driven by the decisions the student makes. If they upset a citizen, they better be prepared to face the consequences. Once the student completes an exercise, they then receive feedback recommendations in an on-screen performance summary.
Okay, moving on. Cody, you want to take this one?
Yeah, and before I jump into talk about mixed reality, how many of you guys have done in kind of this type of training? How many of you done immersive training? Any of you? You can just unmute or give me a thumbs up in a reaction, or have you guys messed with this at all? Is this new? Anyone?
Anyone want to share or raise your hand if you've done some of it?
Been a student, not a developer. Okay, so you've experienced it as a student. Thanks, John. All right. So I think what's interesting as we're going into live here is the thing about kind of the immersive training environment and where we're going with the technology is you don't have to jump into what we just saw. What we just saw was just really, you were really immersed in that environment, and it's very intense. It's a great way to get your heart rate up in some cases. What we also have seen is a stepped approach into that environment where we do, initially we use graphics, still images, and you go through that process with audio. Then we may look at a 360 video where we've stitched all of those graphics together to create an environment that allows you to roam. And then we start introducing avatars, and then we start into the actual, fully immersive with the headsets on. And with the cost of the headsets and the other equipment coming down so much, now we're seeing agencies and departments being able to distribute the hardware into actual environment, into their homes, into their employees' homes. And so, we're seeing this now, especially in the DoD world, which is where we're about to walk into here with mixed reality, is they're taking this to their house. They're sitting there, these guys are going into their dorm rooms in the evening and they're putting on the headsets. And because we use gamification, we're now seeing them take and really play at night while they're learning, and actually reducing the amount of time they're in training while the competencies are actually increasing. And so what we're going to see here with this mixed reality is we are looking at providing these people with mixed reality a way to practice difficult conversations. What we're about to watch here is with our live program with the Air Force, and live stands for Leading Inclusively Virtual Experience. And this can be set up with a multitude of different scenarios. The one you're about to see is around DEI, diversity, equity, inclusion. And so this is allowing these individuals, the live individual, to sit there and talk to an avatar and practice these difficult conversations so that when it happens in real life, they're much more prepared. The interesting thing is behind the avatar you'll see on the screen is a live actor. And so it's more of a human in the loop that's controlling this avatar. And the reason we've gone with a live actor instead of an AI is that the live actor allows the scenario to morph itself into wherever the participant wants it to go. And they're trained to allow them to do that and then slowly start bringing it back. So never is that scenario repeatable. It's always a one-off. We have guidelines that we stick within, but we really are allowing the users to answer however they would in real life and then provide feedback at the end. So Rob, if you want to go ahead and start with the video.
Well, I'm not really doing very well. I talked to some people and they said that maybe you can help me.
Why are you feeling that Tim needs to come home from his deployment?
He's been gone for 2 months and he's gonna be gone for 4 more months, and I really don't feel like I can do this. There's just something in me that just feels really empty.
Okay, I think, can I pause it? Pause.
When this avatar pops up on the screen, it's almost cartoonish. But very quickly, when that avatar starts crying and is an emotional being on the other side of that screen, so you're face to face with an avatar that's crying and talking to you just like this because their spouse was deployed or just died, and all of a sudden the humor, the disbelief, all that is gone.
I felt like I probably could have, I wanted to say so many other things, but when you're in the moment and I'm not trying to pause it, and you can't pause it in real life, so.
Exactly. We were looking for a way to allow students to do something different, to understand leadership and emotional intelligence and apply behaviors in an educational setting. And so I turned to some civilian universities, and that led me to a university that was working with Janine, who's a simulation specialist. And when I saw what she did working through avatars, like, wait a minute, that's unique. It literally, people have to respond in live conversation in a very safe environment that allows you to practice it.
Most of us learned from our actual experiences, whether it was purposeful or just unpurposeful, trial and error. I did something, it didn't work very well, it didn't feel so good. I think now we've gotten ourselves where we can have a virtual training gym, if you will, and a place for us to try things and fail and learn so that you have a much better opportunity to apply that in your interaction in a leadership role. Knowing what already works and doesn't work for you. It's a really powerful concept.
So as you can see, these scenarios are set up to allow you to try a multitude of different learning techniques, different learning genres, whether that's a leadership, what you saw there. It could be interview practice. It could be difficult conversations, whether that's maybe a termination discussion, or it can be something as simple as how to have an appropriate conversation with a colleague. It can be set up multiple ways. The uniqueness within the mixed reality here is it allows us to really stretch this technology to allow you to stretch what's happening within this scenarios. So we can actually tweak it, we can take it, we can change it on the fly. The trained actors are actually a part of the union and the SAG, so they have been trained to do this. And they are allowed to really take this and let it grow and expand throughout this process. Okay, next slide.
Going.
Rob, you want to talk about smart warehouses?
Yeah, so we have examples of smart warehouses, and this is to deal with more like smart supply chain management and warehouses. So the advantage here is how do you kind of show somebody what you're building. So if you're building, let's say, $40-50 million warehouse, being able to see where everything is, especially from a training perspective, as you're building it. this presents a great use cases, and this is one of the examples from a U.S. Marine Corps building a smart warehouse, and then being able to use those immersive technologies. We built this within a VR and an AR environment, and being able to interact with, see, learn, and experience it provides a great use case for us. So in this case, as you can see, we want to kind of showcase where, how the whole warehouse is going to look like, where all the, how the boxes are moving on the conveyor belts, using all these what we call as AGVs, autonomous guided vehicles, how they're going to work, and then these are something called HDRSS system, high density storage. So in all, it's a great use case to showcase some of these newer technologies, and especially when you're building warehouse and smart supply chain management.
So
let me.
Yeah, the next thing that we're going to talk about is internal collaboration. You heard Robbie talk about that earlier, which is where we really are just talking about, how do we communicate in the metaverse? And this is probably one of the most highly used use cases within the metaverse and in immersive training, is that being able to collaborate with your partners. Today we're more geographically dispersed than ever. Robbie and I are on, I'm half the continent away, or half the US away from Robbie, but in this environment, we're sitting right next to each other, and the ability to be able to collaborate and work together is the same as if I was sitting in DC with the office right next to him. And so, in fact, in some ways, it's better because I have the ability to share, bring up, pull in things into our environment and give him immediate access to do that. We can draw on the whiteboards. We can design together. When you're doing a review of your training courses, you can do that online together and actually see things instead of, how many of you remember back in the day before we had screen sharing, when you were trying to describe something to your graphic artist? No, I need it to be this. Now I just pull it up and say, hey, can you make this? And they're like, oh yeah. And I can watch them do it right there in a collaborative environment. And so what we're seeing is our ability to increase our productivity and our collaborative. You can go ahead and get it started in this environment.
Options where you can, the space doesn't matter, but as long as, we are able to meet and collaborate and experience this. So this is something that we wanted to share with you all. Thank you.
And what you're seeing here is you've got two different viewpoints. You have Robbie that's sitting actually in front of a computer. So you don't have to have the headsets. You don't have to have the Oculus or the Vive or any of those. You can actually do this sitting in front of a camera, just like what we are right now. Or you can do it when you're fully immersed in this environment.
A little bit curious to me.
Yeah, this is actually a meeting that was taking place. We just captured it. You can move on. The fun thing is if I don't want to be in this office, I can change it. I can be sitting out there in the San Francisco Bay or wherever I want. But the next thing that we take in this environment is actually going into digital twins. And we hear digital twins a lot, and everybody is like, what is a digital twin? It's nothing but a model. That's all it is. It's a digital representation of an actual physical device. That's what it is. There are a lot of ways to do this. There's a lot of different fidelity that we look at when we're going into digital twins. I'm going to show you a very high fidelity model of an A10 cockpit. It does not have to always be this. And that's one of the things that we look at when we look at immersive training is, what is the level of fidelity that we're trying to get to? Does it have to be, this level where everything is exactly in the same place, exactly the same color, the textures are all matching? Or can it be something that's lower fidelity, more image realistic, but not necessarily exactly as the model is? And the reason we do that is obviously cost. Cost is a big factor in all of that. But also, what does it increase the learning for the user? If it's not going to increase the outcome for the learner to be in this exact high res image, but they can do the same competency in a lower res, we might want to do that. So in this case, before it gets started, actually you can talk about, go ahead and let it go. She'll talk about it for a second.
Integration of high-fidelity modeling and 4K ultra-high definition rendering allows adjustable detail of assets, aligning targeted resolution with hardware-agnostic deployment. Once modeled, The virtual hardware can be manipulated with back-end controls and emulation, allowing control of vital mission systems in a virtual environment. This allows benchmark performance analysis of the training device against actual aircraft use and serves for targeting continual improvement with the training system.
So you heard her say a word in there that was very unique and very kind of new to this area, which is benchmarking into this environment. What that means is that we actually have the specs from the actual aircraft or whatever we're looking at. In this case, it's the A-10. So we know that when you press this button, it's so many milliseconds before that actually occurs on the actual aircraft. We actually take that exact timing and we put that into the back end of that high-res digital twin. So as I press that button in the virtual environment, it behaves exactly like it does on the actual aircraft. And so because the A-10 is a single-seater aircraft, we want that true realistic experience for these pilots before they actually go up on their first flight, right? And so what we're seeing is, especially in this type of a community and in anywhere where we're looking at large heavy equipment, is there is a gap in the training between a web-based training and before they go into the full simulation training. And that's where these digital twins and this immersive training environment really is showing its power, and where we're seeing the biggest benefits is helping to fill that gap of that training right there, because it gives them a step up from the web-based training before they move into a full fidelity multi-million dollar simulator. They can have that training, and that's where we're really seeing the increase in the competencies and the skills happen, is in this middle ground between the web-based training and the full-fledged simulations. Go ahead and do the next slide, Robbie.
Integration.
All right, so this is another example. So I'm just going to go, talk as the video is playing. So, earlier I talked about the build it once and deploy it anywhere. So you just saw an example of, how we built the high fidelity model from a VR perspective. Now, the same setup, in this case, we were able to reuse the same models and bring it into the metaverse environment. So, in this case, we can perform, from a maintenance training to being able to do everything that you just saw from, putting on a headset into a virtual environment where you can be anywhere in the world, and as long as you have, your simple username and password, being able to log in and then being able to collaborate. This can be a walkthrough with your instructor or, with your class, and even before you get there. So that's what, we were talking earlier about, using build it once, deploy it many times. In this case, using the power of the metaverse, we can, get a very similar experience and, being able to collaborate, that's one of the big things. And it's, using the same 3D models to build and to bring it into a metaverse environment. So this is some, great use cases out here for us to, see, simulate, and learn. I just want to, quickly move forward. So as I said earlier, you don't need a VR headset. You can just, use a computer. And this is, the same example. The person within the same environment is available. And if your person doesn't have a headset, you can, just come in using your computer and kind of experience that immersive nature of this environment.
Next desired to transform the learning model to key in on the individual airman and his or her individual abilities by customizing learning to the individual.
We actually
Further,
took
the Maintenance Next customer desired to determine how augmented reality, AR, and virtual reality, VR, could be leveraged to provide individual experiences that facilitated higher retention and development of experienced technician skill sets at an earlier career point than the traditional Air Force technical training model. Never assuming that every millennial is an experienced gamer, our team began the courseware with a tutorial on how to operate within the virtual environment. As the student progresses into the scenario they are moving within, virtual environments modeled on actual environments they will be working in, such as the tool room, the hangar. Next desired to transform the learning model to key in on the individual airman and his.
This is the feedback from the field after the pilot was completed. there were some, some good positive outcomes, but also, some challenges that we encountered within the VR environment. Students liked being with the instructor rather than being just exploring by themselves, because the instructors were kind of giving them context. The instructors were kind of giving them stories that they were missing from a VR environment. The second was in the VR environment, the airmen, the aircrew did not know how heavy, let's say in this case, the brake assembly was. So how do you account for that? Of course, nowadays there are newer technologies like haptic gloves to kind of get you that feedback, but that's what was missing from a VR. And also, what was missing from the VR was, they were not, the air crew was not getting why I am doing this. There was no context. It was very procedural. So that context that you get in the in-person was kind of missing. So some of the lessons learned that we wanted to kind of showcase with you that as you are building these immersive tools and technologies, these are the things that you need to take into account. And lastly, of course, we're building digital twin campuses and this within the metaverse environment, and there are a lot of quote unquote metaversities where people are taking their classes and bringing it into metaversities. Of course, this is not replacing your entire classrooms, but as with the newer generation coming in, they are brought up on computer games and everything. This gives another avenue to engage with your learners and kind of learn and see what they are that they're already used to with as far as metaversities are concerned. So this kind of these platforms that we support is something that we can create, and it kind of gives the virtual students a unique edge. I just want to kind of showcase one of the examples that out here. So this was captured using a platform that we use called Engage, and then, like I said, all of these, what you're looking at are portals. So you can, go from one portal to another portal, and each portal kind of, brings you into a different avenue. And this is an example of a metaversity. So I just wanted to, showcase that, as you saw, the video kind of played as you were there. So what we call, spatial audio, being, the audio is there when you're near that particular scene. So, some great use cases for the metaversity. Cody?
Okay, so at this point, let's open it up to you guys. So do you have questions? Do you have thoughts? Ideas? Do you think this is something that you are interested in and looking at for your own organization? I'm completely open to any sort of feedback. Do you think it's not useful? That's also very helpful as we look at this. Any ideas? Any open conversations?
Cody and Ravi, this is Amy. This is really amazing work, and I'm blown away by what we can do in the virtual environment. I do. Looks like Lisa Holm has a question. Lisa, you can go ahead and unmute yourself. I'm going to give you a little button to unmute. There you go. Can't hear you yet. Oh, you don't have a question?
No. Okay.
Anyone else have questions or ideas? Or have you used this?
Okay. Just checking. I just wanted to open up the floor for a minute. I can move forward. One of the things that we are always looking for in our world and in training is, what's next? What's the next thing that we need to be already looking at to incorporate into our world and into our environments, into the immersive training. And so, you heard Ravi say, all of our new employees that are coming in now that we're hiring, they're digital natives. That's what they know. That's where they grew up. That's how they expect to be given that information. And they process things very differently than maybe how you or I process things. And so we need to understand that. We need to be respectful of that, and go from that piece. And so one of the things we look at is gaming. We always look to gaming, because the gaming world has taken this by storm. They've been doing this for years. If you have children, and they're playing online games, let's talk Fortnite, right? Fortnite is this. This is what it is. You're creating worlds. You're jumping from one thing. You're being persistent. You're taking. It is meta. So you're even buying things online. Trust me, I know. My son hits me up all the time for V-Bucks. So we're doing those kind of things now. Our kids are experiencing this right now. This is how they are learning. This is how they're work and meeting up with their friends. My son has friends that are in Delaware. He's coming to me and he's asking me, "Hey, Dad, I want to go to Delaware." And I'm like, "Why?" He goes, "That's where my friends are." And so this thought around having your friend next door, which is great, is still there. But now we've expanded our minds and expanded our opportunities to a global market, with what we can do in this immersive training environment. And so looking at where this multiplayer online games, you've heard Ravi talk about World of Warcraft earlier. So, we can go forward. Ravi, you're going to go to the next slide, and we're going to kind of jump through these pretty quick. So if you want to go to the next slide. We talked about World of Warcraft. If you look at those accounts, over 100 million accounts have been created in World of Warcraft. That is huge. And before I move on, I need to give credit. So Ravi and I get to work with some very special people, and these slides actually came from one of our colleagues, Beth Myers, who works with us. She is our gamification expert, and so this is some of her ideas and some of her work. So I want to give credit where credit is due for this. I've asked for permission to use these. She was thumbs up. During July of 2022, 5 million people logged into World of Warcraft. 5 million. Imagine if that was your training environment. There are 34,000 players at any given moment when you log onto World of Warcraft. And right now, in 2021, they made $9 billion in net revenue. So, when we're looking at where things are going, just sit down and open the internet and look what games are happening. What games are hot right now? What are they doing in those games? And you can see how we can take these types of this environment and move it into your training to make it more captivating, more exciting for our end users. Go to the next slide. And so we looked at and we found 6 things that we really are looking to apply into our trainings that we're looking at from these big, huge, online gaming environments. Go to the next slide. Actually, if you just want to jump to slide 39, Ravi, we'll just kind of summarize it from here and go from there. So, because we've talked about a lot of this. So if you look at, as he's getting there, it should be after the last 6 slide. And these slides will be available, Carter. I know that you're asking about the slides. Yes, Amy, these are going to be put up for us so everyone can download these, correct?
Yes, I believe so.
Okay. So the things about gaming that we're looking to apply right now, and some of that you've already seen, is the first aspect is that social collaboration. When you come into a new game, the first thing you do is you create an account, and then you start immediately into that personalization and customization. You create your character, right? You look at how my avatar is going to look. You dress them up. You change the hairstyles. You change your eye styles. You look at clothes. So you go through that whole process of creating your own persona within this game. That's the same thing in training. We allow you to create your own identity in that immersive environment. And then we open it up and you can start into your chats and you can start posting things on message boards and start threads. And so now we see this social collaboration coming into this world. And really, you have the freedom in this environment to go wherever and whenever you want. And you can interact with these different people, avatars, AI, whatever they are at that point, in real time and get real-time feedback. So at this, we can I can walk into my professor's office in the virtual environment and say, hey, I have a question over X, and I can have that discussion. Now, am I talking to a real professor? Don't know. It could be an AI at this point, because AIs are now actually coming up to be smart enough to be able to answer those questions. Look at ChatGPT. We can embed that into that environment. I can say, I can train ChatGPT with the material that I need it to have so it becomes smart. And I can have it pulled directly from just this textbook or just this pamphlet and give that answer out. We can also give you guided autonomy based on what we want. So if I want you to do something, I might set a storyline for you, like what we see in the games. And I can ask you to do quest to quest to quest. And I can guide you through, instead of our old linear trainings that we used to create, right, where you do slide by slide by slide by slide. Now I can give you that sense of freedom through guided storylines. And I can give you guilds that you have to follow, or whatever those scenarios are that you're going through to learn that outcome, whatever that competency is, or whatever that objective is that I'm trying to get you to understand. And what we do at the end, we reward you. We give you those points, the badges, the leaderboard that says, hey, you're number one, you finished with the most points. It doesn't matter how old you are or what you're doing. Everybody loves to be rewarded, and everybody loves that recognition. And if I can take that and hold it over my colleague next to me and says, haha, I beat you by 3 points, we're all happy. And so we can give you that environment, in that immersive environment. We can give you those highs in those immersive environments, and people strive for those. They love to reach out to that. And so we can take these aspects from the games and push them through. And the last one is keeping it fresh. That one's interesting, because we know that when we develop things that are our standard web-based training, or your standard classroom or stand-up training, those stay that way for years. In a lot of cases, they get stagnant, they get old, they're not updated as often as we would want them to be. We get it, it's all budget. In this environment, updating and keeping things fresh becomes a lot easier, because I'm not having to redo everything, repackage everything, re-go through this process. It may be just changing some text on the database on the back end. Or allowing us to update, oh, let's add in a new scenario, done. Now they can start taking that. There are new technologies and ways of approaching that allows us to keep things fresh for them. So as they come back in time and time again, they're going to get a whole new series of scenarios, a whole new way of approaching this problem, and allowing them to do that. And that's where we see these types of events happening, especially in leadership training, where we're presenting them with multiple different problems, but maybe trying to go after the same objective, how they approach it in this way versus how you might approach it here. And so we're really seeing this being used in those environments where we're constantly on an update cycle. And this is something that we can do as we move forward, is the way it's designed and the way it's programmed allows us to really update things quickly and very cheaply as we move forward. Robbie, any updates or comments on any of that before we get to the wrap stage?
No, it's good, Cody. Thank you. I don't have any other anything to add at this point of time.
All right. Well, everyone, I really want to thank you for taking your time to be with us today. Here's our contact information. We're happy to answer questions. We're happy to be here and hang out after this is over for a few minutes. But Amy will be putting this out. They will be posted. They're posting of this actual session will be available for everybody. But thank you all for your time. Thank you for giving us this time today. I know you all are very busy. I hope we gave you something to think about, even if you're not going to put it in right now. Maybe this is something you could think about for the future. And if we can ever be of assistance, let us know. Amy?
I think we might have a question.
Hey, I'd love to.
PSALMRE. Did you have a question?
No, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Oh, you can hear me. Oh my God, wow. I
Yeah.
didn't realize that.
Anyone have any questions? I mean, I have lots.
Ask them, ask them.
Let me see. It looks like we have somebody. No. Yeah. So if nobody has any questions, I have a couple just to see what you can share with me. Really looking at, I do a lot of leadership development training, whether it's, we have a lot of virtual people. So I was really moving toward trying to do simulation labs virtually. Of course, we don't have the technology to do AI and Metaverse and stuff like that. I would love it, but trying to figure out how we can use this technology for more coaching our new managers. That's one of our biggest challenges is new managers come on board, they don't get their training timely, and they have questions and they don't know who to go to. Mm-hmm. So is that something that you have worked on? I know a lot of the stuff that you've done is more on the technical side.
Yeah, actually, so the demo that you saw in the live program, where we had the kind of the mixed reality with the human in the loop kind of a situation, that's being used a lot in our coaching world right now. Ravi's got stuff happening with several different agencies in coaching and leadership. And the technology that's involved in that is Zoom.
Yeah.
We deliver everything over Zoom. So that's, you guys already have your Zoom Gov licenses. And that's how we're actually using the delivery. Our side actually has we use a webcam with our avatars and a software that actually uses the facial the cam picks up the facial movements and the facial expressions of our actors and portrays those through the avatar on the screen. And so when the actor cries, the avatar cries. When the actor smiles, the avatar smiles. And so we're using those kind of technologies. It doesn't have to be super huge, expensive technologies to do this. We're simply just using Zoom like we are today in a meeting to do that.
Is it?
Yeah, and just to add to what just Cody mentioned, Amy, we are using exactly for one of our agencies that we are using is for leadership training. It's nothing else. Using for leadership training, using the avatar-based, the mixed reality simulations, and we definitely have again, a lot of the way organizations are approaching it is instead of bringing in as lock, stock, barrel like full technology, they're doing pilots. So this is a pilot program that is like for the one that Cody is managing for the Air Force. They started up as a pilot program, and this particular agency is also a pilot program that will go agency wide once the pilot is completed. So please think about it as if it's a, like Cody said, it's Zoom, like it's like we have a portal to support it for scheduling, and then reporting is available. So all the data analytics and the metrics that let's say a stakeholder would like to see is available.
Yeah. We would actually highly recommend not jumping in both feet into the deep end. We would recommend you do a small pilot, a small test group. You build your wins that way quickly, and you gain that ground swell, that ground confidence, and let it grow from there. So we actually highly recommend you do a pilot program to get started with it.
Is there ROI on it? So like if say I come in and I do my first session and I do completely horrible, right? And then I keep doing some more training, and then or does it give you some training opportunities? Like, okay, so these are the areas that you really need some work on. Go take those trainings or go take those sessions and come back.
Yeah, so what we see is 3 15-minute sessions for the end user actually starts to change the behavior and the competencies that are being taught at that point. So at the end of that third session, and what we have is there's a captain's course that we use at Air Command and Staff College, and we've seen that number. It's a magic number. When they get to the end of that third 15-minute session, that's when we see the change occur. And that's when we see the benefits really take hold. And so the ROI is 3 15-minute sessions, which is nothing. You know, you're 45 minutes in total. And at that point, what we've seen is a shift in behavior, and we've seen a shift in their thought processes and how they approach things. And so we can start looking at the Kirkpatrick's, you know, when we're doing evaluations and we're looking at that, that's when we start seeing the change in learning and the benefits and how that is approaching to the situations. And we do have documentation on that. We can share that with you, Amy, and show you what those ROIs are.
No, that's wonderful. I'm really excited that you're doing a lot of great work, and I can really see the benefit, you know, for, you know, we had a session on coaching earlier today, and you kind of have more of those internal coaches, but sometimes your resources are slim as far as having, you know, internal coaches. This is something that, you know, can be a little bit more on demand, or is it something that has to be scheduled far in advance? I know we're at the time, but I'm just curious on that one.
It can be on demand if that's what we want. With the Air Force, we schedule it in advance. They schedule them. If they have, we open up months in advance, and they can start scheduling things out, and they can do it that way. We can also do, instead of doing a one-on-one, you can do a one-to-many. So what we do is, in some sessions, we bring in a whole class, and it's to one actor. And so the class, what we found is the class is observing, and we have one participant, but the learning outcomes at the end of that session, it's not so much focused on how the actual end user did with the avatar. It's more focused on the scenario and what happened during that time, and not how that person did. So when the discussion happens after, we actually talk about how the scenario was, what would you do? And we found people open up and share private, intimate details around their lives and what happened. And conversations, I was at a conference 2 weeks ago where we did this, a live demo, and the conversation continued for the second and third day after we finished that scenario. They were still discussing the same scenario. And so it was very interesting. And it crossed genders. This happened to be a lactation scenario. And we had guys and females actually still discussing that scenario on the third day after we did it on the first day. So the conversations still continue. And that's really where the benefit comes, is we see these continue to happen and stay on people's brains and stay in their forefronts of their minds. So they're thinking about this training as they're going through. And that's where we see the biggest ROI.
Thank you so much. I know we are over time. For those of you that are joining us virtually, if you can come back, or I'm going to drop the link in the chat to join us for Unlocking Your Potential at 2:00. So 2:00 Eastern time. Thank you so much, Cody and Ravi. I'll be in touch with you. Have a great day.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Enjoy the conference, guys. Enjoy. Thank you.
All right, bye.